So you see, Ryan Hudson, you are the father. Oh, hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your long-awaited, long-awaited 17th chapter review. No, 17th episode review of Nancy Drew. Hope everyone's doing well. If you are just part of the Drew Crew Nation, we haven't spoken to each other since March. A lot has happened since March. A lot has happened. The lack of a Nancy Drew episode, the COVID delays, COVID quarantine, COVID lockdown. So hopefully everyone's doing well during this time period, and hopefully keep to be well as we are still now approaching this very weird point in the Nancy Drew airing schedule, which I'll get to more towards the end of the end of this review. But overall, it's been a month since the last Nancy Drew review. So how has Nancy Drew's return episode for the 2 weeks that it's back on overall hold up? I really, 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 really enjoyed this one. I really did. I felt like this was a natural step in the story since the two mysteries have been resolved. The main two mysteries. I think the last quarter of this season is going to definitely focus on Nancy herself, where we solved the mystery of who killed Tiffany, and then we solved the mystery of who killed Dead Lucy, and now we're going to figure out what does Nancy Drew do next with the revelation she learned in the last episode, and how does that redefine her character, redefine her entire history, and where do we see that moving forward, especially now as we're approaching the final episodes that have yet to be filmed because COVID fucked things over, and also that we are also approaching season 2 when we get there next year, hopefully. But anyway, so let's get that through. Let's not waste any more time because I have a lot to say at the end of this one. Let's go for the butchered recap. So we begin right as soon as the last episode left off, where Nancy is confronting her dad about, well, her adopted dad about her real biological relation to Dead Lucy, and that in point to Ryan being her real father. And she gets mad at him because, like, why didn't you tell me earlier? Why were you ever going to tell me had I not figured out about the DNA test? And it's very much a blaming game of sorts. And it is very imperative that Nancy needs some time away. Because obviously we know that, like, a logistical person would say, well, they still raised me as I was their own kid. They were my parents for 19 years, and they're still going to be my parents because they always raised me. But Nancy's still in that stage of the figuring out process, and she's still trying to grasp with it, and she's not entirely ready to confront that truth yet. She wants to get away from Mr. Drew. She needs to get away from him and kind of figure things out. Meanwhile, everyone else is kind of going through. No, we cut to the next morning where Nick is still at George's house. And, it's still peachy cleany for now, but of course, obviously, these two still have some romantic tensions to work over. But then George's mom ruins the moment by saying that, hey, listen, if Nick stays here, no, he's paying rent. But so Nick uses that opportunity to leave and start looking for his own place. However, before he can get further ahead, he notices there's some weird water in his boot. He thinks it was a prank from George's sisters. It turns out no, it's because it turns to sand afterwards for some weird reason. And then slowly we get to reveal that everyone else is slowly getting these moments. But we get like interstitial moments where Bess is trying to convince her girlfriend, Elizabeth, to come to this big party tonight which is going to be Bess's introduction to the larger family that she has found. And also, yeah, so I think, yeah. But then after that, we see the other core members of the Drew crew sort of getting these weird ominous signs that all of a sudden turn to sand as soon as they turn away. So things are obviously, it's not just Nancy to point out, and also Nick meets up with Mr. Drew for something wrong with his car, and then they talk to each other a little bit. Apparently Mr. Drew was caught up on events before the fight occurred, so he's well aware of the breakup between Nancy and Nick. But Nick is trying to move past that a little. Well, no, he's trying to say, I don't need to know. That's your personal business. I don't need to know anything like that. And he asked her, do you know where Nancy is? Nick says no. And then we cut to Nancy at Owen's house because because when you bang once, apparently you can bang anytime you want. Or I don't know how that works. I really don't know how it works. And Nancy's trying to avoid everyone's calls because she needs some time away from everyone to kind of figure this out on her own. Figure this out. What does she need to do now that she's figured out that she is actually related to Ryan Hudson? Owen suggests, like, I don't think Owen knows specifically everything, or maybe he does. I really don't know. But he decides, hey, listen, you need some time away from this. I gotta go to New York for business. Do you want to come with me? Take some personal days away from everyone. Nancy's down with it, but she has to go to this party first, and then they'll both, dip and head out to New York. So but then Ace calls Owen. In turn, Nancy gets to meet up with Ace. Ace fills her in on everything. That there is apparently a ritual they could do to kind of get all these ominous signs away from them. That the person who conducted the ritual has to perform another ritual with a blood relative of theirs, which is Nancy being the person who did the ritual. She needs a blood relative. So they assume at that moment is that, okay, Nancy and her dad need to do this. However, they are very much unaware that Nancy's real biological dad is Ryan Hudson. And Nancy is not ready to admit that fact to her friends just yet. So she decides she's going to find some clever way to do the ritual, but not tell Ryan about the real lineage, and also to her friends. Yeah, you can obviously tell this is not going to end so well. So she meets up with Ryan. Ryan's also on the path of figuring out that, hey, I think that Lucy may have been pregnant when she was about to die. So he decides he's going to try and see to confirm it. Maybe the child's still out there. Maybe he can find this missing child of his. Unaware that the missing child is Nancy. Nancy agrees to do this under the condition that they do a couple of things beforehand and then afterwards. So they both agree and they set off to the birth clinic in hopes of getting some sort of lead. Meanwhile, back at the Claw, George and Nick are trying to find the ritual that they need to perform. And yeah, clearly George wanted to bang Nick at that moment. Like, the moment you put your hand on someone's leg, you're bound to just tell them, hey, listen, it's going to happen. But Nick is like, no, I think Nick or George said, like, listen, we need to slow down a little bit. We don't want to rush this. And they were in the middle of their second kiss, and then Bess, for the upteenth millionth time in the show history, ruins the moment. And Bess, so yeah, the moment's ruined. They go back to their work. Bess heads up back to Owen and Ace. Ace is helping Owen out with some decryption shit. Sorry about that. My profanity. But Bess is also planning the party in general, and it's a lot of moving pieces to work with since she needs this party to be perfect, because this is also her introduction party to the rest of the family. And yeah, it's not looking so well. And also, she wants to invite her girlfriend, but she's not entirely sure if the rest of the family is going to accept her. Not because of the nature of the relationship, like the roles of such, which is perfectly fine. They're fine with it. It's just the person that the girlfriend is, because of her police officer status, her status with law enforcement. It could potentially create an issue of a conflict of interest later down the line, so they're trying to avoid that. So then we come back to Nancy and Ryan at the OGBYT Center, I think that's how you pronounce it. And Ryan is trying to pressure the doctor, who's been a very long time doctor there, to kind of figure out, hey, was Lucy here? Is she pregnant? Was she pregnant? Can you tell me anything about, obviously, patient-doctor confidentiality is still in turn. Ryan tries to blackmail her, tries to buy off the place and shut it down by, he's been pretty much doing everything he can. However, Nancy puts him away and has the doctor go along, because Nancy already knows the answers to every one of his questions. She doesn't want to tell him yet. But however, Nancy throws him a bone and does confirm that, yes, you do have a child. And instead of telling him more in detail, they decide to head out for a drive and head off to the party. Where, yeah, I think that's the next scene. I don't know. There's another scene there, but anyway, I'm gonna keep following this tangent. So Nancy and Ryan are in the car, but Nancy has one of those pendants, whatever they were calling the illusions that feel kind of real thing. Yeah, Nancy's having one of those moments while she was talking to Ryan about something. And then Nancy just pretty much goes all off on Ryan about his entire personality, everything that was leading up to this moment. Ryan gets pissed off and leaves. And Nancy's just stuck on the highway with no way to get back home. And then Ryan heads off back to the Claw. Oh, no, Ryan heads to the party, I believe, where he meets up with the others. Everyone's, trying to... It's weird, the whole situation. It's really weird. But Nancy does arrive with, and she finds Owen, and I believe I don't remember what other thing there was. I really don't remember what was the other thing. Yeah, this is the Butcher's recap. Even a month removed, I still can't remember crap from the show. Not to say that's a bad thing. It's just my memory is very finicky nowadays. I'm just gonna stick with the party. So everyone's here. Me, Nancy, and Owen are planning out there. Okay, as soon as this is over, we're heading out of here. Everyone else is trying to make sure the ritual's in set and make sure Nancy does have her blood relative. And Ryan, while he was in the car, finds Nancy's locket that she probably ripped off when she was having her choking episode, and compares the picture that's in the locket to Lucy Sable's baby picture and notices a striking resemblance. So Ryan rushes over to the party. He confronts Nancy, and Nancy just pretty much lets them all know, yes, you are my father. You are the father, Ryan Hudson. Ryan is a bit distraught, but he's also very accepting of it, and it makes a lot of sense. The more, because before, while they were leading up to this moment, he was kind of comparing Nancy and Lucy, and also him and her, and he's sort of fine with it in a very weird way. So they make it to the ritual. Nancy's dad's also, Ryan, Mr. Drew's there, but Nancy just sends him packing because they don't need him. They perform the ritual, a very painful ritual, and Nancy does not. Nancy's bleeding a lot, and then during this moment, she reveals to everyone that, hey, yes, Ryan Hudson is my father. And the first thing that I thought of is that George banged Nancy's dad. This is the perfect scenario for a porn video. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for me. I'm gonna go out. Okay. So ritual's over. Everyone's kind of happy this is over. Nancy and Ryan are heading back to the parking lot where they run into Mr. Drew, but Nancy's kind of still avoiding him. Ryan briefly tells off Mr. Drew's like, listen, had you not kept that secret, had you not been so quiet, maybe I would have been able to raise Nancy as my own, but you didn't give me that opportunity. So Ryan drives off angrily. Nancy and Mr. Drew have another moment where Nancy's understanding of Mr. Drew's actions as of the whole show, but she's understanding that she still needs some time away from him. She needs some time away from everyone to kind of figure out what she needs to do next. Meanwhile, the rest of the Drew crew's just kind of relieved that, hey, it's over, that we could put a pin in it. And again, Beth points out the obvious that, hey, George technically banged Nancy's dad, and George kind of storms off. So we see the rest of the crew kind of separate. Beth is with the family, and she gets kind of like a verbal okay from the patriarch, the aunt, that, hey, you're good to date her. It'll be great for the publicity and, for the police to know that, hey, one of our own is dating a police officer, so that means we're legitimate, or something like that. But then we start to see the four have more of the the episodes, the haunting episodes. So it's like, no, it's technically not over yet. It's not. They call up George's mom to kind of and they all figure out through the similarities of their episodes that this is something that could have been related to an execution for a real person, because a spirit is technically someone without a human origin, meaning that this particular entity is a human origin entity, and the ritual they performed is technically for supernatural only base. So technically they pissed off the spirit even more. So they try to look for Owen, who is the last one unaccounted for. They look around the house, and they find Owen's phone in the hallway for some weird reason. And then they go into the nearby open doorway, which is a bathroom, and they find Owen is dead. So, yeah, they killed Owen. That's going to kickstart another mystery. How did Owen... I forgot his last name. Owen... I don't want to say Owen Shaw. That's Fast and Furious. Oh, how did Owen die? Pretty much. And that's kind of where we leave off this episode before we head into the spring finale, which I'll get to more clarification of that in a second. But anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. This was definitely the right step in the direction of the story in terms of like, okay, we're done with the mysteries, we're done with the murder mysteries. Now we're moving on to some new to some new stuff into this that still fits in the current season 1 story, and finally getting to see George and Nick kiss. So obviously, when will they bang? I'm pretty sure sometime soon. Bess is still being conflicted with the whole families in her life and her loved ones in her life. Nancy's still slowly dealing with this newfound information very, very, very carefully. And Ace is just being being the lovable doofus he is. And yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. 2 thumbs up. So that's going to do it for me. So if you're unaware, guys, this was What's on the Tube. from ActionX, if you want to know what's coming out overall, and this is where I'm going to talk about Nancy Drew for a bit. So, we usually do Nancy Drew reviews every single Thursday after a new episode on Wednesday on the CW. However, because of the nature of COVID, we have gotten word from the CW that that Nancy Drew will be going on a spring finale next week. So next week's episode is going to be the spring finale. So there's going to be once the COVID's over and they're able to resume production, they're going to resume filming season 1, filming out the final 4 episodes. So episode 19, episode 20, episode 21, episode 22, they will be filmed, but they don't know when they're going to do that, considering the fact the nature of COVID is still very much, we're still in the unknown on when everything's going to go back to normal. So until that's figured out, there is no ETA on that front. So after Nancy Drew's next episode, we have literally no idea when Nancy Drew will return. And as well as the other shows that are currently affected by this, like The Flash and Supergirl and Batwoman and Supernatural, and like I said, they've all been affected. So I honestly have no clue when they're coming back. Literally, once next week's Nancy Drew episode airs, that's it. That's it for a very long time. We may not even get another Nancy Drew episode for all of summer. And that's the reality of the situation. That really sucks about this whole thing, that we're in a very crucial moment in the story, and we can't figure out the next part. And it really fucking sucks. And as a man who's reviewing this and slowly falling in love with the series, it's still it sucks that, we have to get so cut off at this moment that we have no idea where next week's episode is going to be, because they don't want to promote it as the spring finale. They're just going to air it, and people will know that this is it. This is the last episode for a while, because technically they have episodes shot, but it's not edited. They rather wait till everything else is simmered down. So, with that being said, when will after next week? I'm still figuring out what the plan is for the Thursday time slot. Going forward, I don't necessarily think of tackling on a new show right away. I think we're going to take some time and do more one-offs to fill the gap. But we'll figure it out as we go. Right now, I'm not going to promise anything right now at the moment, but the moment I know, you will. But so that's currently where we're at. But we also do rookie episode reviews every Monday after its new episode on Sundays. And we also do Katie Clean chapter reviews every Saturday after a new episode on Thursday on the CW. Recording on a hiatus for that for a couple more weeks. One more week. It comes back next week, but whatever. And so, it really fucking sucks that Nancy Drew is it's back, then it's going away again after next week. So it really sucks in the timing. But really does suck. Anyway, guys, once again, this was What's on the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, please subscribe to the channel. Please ring the bell for notifications when we have a new episode live. Like, favorite, share, if you please. And follow us on all the social media feeds. And again, for you Drew Crew fanatics, sorry, we'll be back next week for one last time for a while. And again, stay safe, everyone. Be careful out there. Just think smart and, take care of yourself, everyone. And, hopefully we'll get through this together. And hopefully Nancy Drew season 1 will actually end properly, whatever that is. Alright, guys. That's going to do it for me, guys. Again, see you guys next week for another one. Peace out.